Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here. It's a great honor to participate in the conference, which is organized by PASOS. And it's really interesting how we see today the title of the conference and and for sure, how different is the world today comparing to that which was a year ago. Even a year ago. Let's try to remember what happened during this year. In December, that means around 11 months ago, it was cracked down in Belarus after more or less reasonable election campaign. Majority of the candidates were brutally beaten and arrested. Then, a moment later, the Arab Spring blew up, and we suddenly found that the stories which we used to say that democracy is rather for these communities which try to be close to the traditional Greek democracy. And then we see what's going on in Greece. So we are in totally new neighborhood. And this is something what's the most important for the Polish presidency. Today we are in absolutely another neighborhood that we expected to be when we are planning 2 years in advance the presidency. Additionally to that, we see the euro crisis and what this new neighborhood is about. First of all, Northern Africa. No doubt about that. The most important change for Europe. The Arab Spring, which is influencing both Europe as well as whole Africa. I just arrived from Lome, Togo, from the ACP EU Parliamentary Assembly, and it was absolutely clear that for all the presidents from the Africa, that what happened in Tunisia, in Egypt, in Libya, is very important message. It is influenced the way they today behave. It's influencing the decision they are taking. At the same moment, we see what's going on in our eastern neighborhood. We see that the agreements with Ukraine probably will be not so easy as we were absolutely sure a year ago. The situation in Belarus, even if Poland succeeds to build the solidarity bloc to support Belarusian civil society all around Europe, it's really, for the first time, the economical sanctions were used on behalf of the all EU, but at the same time, we first time succeed to keep the same policy towards Belarus for around a year. And this is clear that our European partners today better understand what's going on in this country. It was absolutely, the picture was totally different a year ago. Somehow, we've seen in Europe that democracy is against development. Same fact. When a year ago I was attending the Development Ministers' Councils, and I tried to share the message that with development cooperation, we should deliver the empowerment component. I was not talking about liberal democracy. I was rather talking about empowerment in the local communities. It was not obvious. Gender balance, obvious issue. Ecology, no doubt about that. To care about climate, absolutely sure. But democracy, empowerment, no. Rather stability. At this time, the term good governance used to mean stable government. Government which is not bringing difficulties to the neighbors, not democratic. We also understood that existing policy to promote democracy, very effective one. In last few decades, Europe was promoting democracy through offering membership. Offer of membership, Spain, Portugal, Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, today Croatia, Serbia, was the tool to set up some standards, and the offer to be in was enough strong to ensure that some changes will be implemented. Yes, in these countries we used to blame them. This expectation were too high. Somehow, today, we see how happy we should be that our requirements to join the European community were as high as possible. So we are today not in the position of Greece, where decision was taken rather on the political base than the base of some standards. Today, this offer to join EU is near finished. We can talk about it. We are talking about few more countries, but especially for the Northern Africa, this offer is not valid. Tunisia never will be offered with EU membership. Egypt, Syria will be never offered to join EU. So we need another tool, another way to talk about democracy and about standards with our neighbors. We see also somehow similar situation in Ukraine. Struggling for the right to decide, the right for the decision for Belarusians, for Ukrainians. We never were attempting that we will take decisions on their behalf. They have right to take decisions. And intervening during the Orange Revolution to give the chance for fair elections, we were not struggling for the Polish candidates. They're not Polish candidates, and there will be no Polish candidates in elections in Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, Belarus, or Ukraine. As well as we do not expect Ukrainian, Belarusian, German, or Czech candidates in our elections. Of course, they are minorities, but this is totally another story. So we believe that this chance will be given to the people of Belarus and Ukraine, but we cannot accept giving as many chances as possible to join European community, to push with the decision. Something which probably we are talking less, or we are talking in other fora, is the role of European Union as a whole. In last decade, I participated in several events linked with the development cooperation. Europe used to be the major donor. It's interesting, major, but invisible, transparent. both in humanitarian assistance and development cooperation, we did everything we possible as Europe to spend as much money as possible and to make it invisible. With Kristalina Georgieva, I was traveling to the Dadaab, the largest refugee camp worldwide. The camp where there are 450,000 refugees, in the community where there are 150,000 inhabitants. Let's imagine what that means, that 3 times more refugees are showing up in any region of rich Europe. What that means for the poor region of Kenya, you can imagine. And traveling all around the Dadaab with Kristalina Georgieva, we've seen thousands of logo of UN agencies, the information that this food was delivered by American people, that it's from American people. We've seen many flags of member states, and we've seen one EU logo. One. Once it happened to us that we've seen EU logo in the place where we are paying half of the people. In the result, we are paying so much, but our payments are not influential, nor in Europe, in the sense that European community understand what we are doing and why it's so important, as well as it's less important outside. And quite often it happens, like with the issue of emissions, that commitment, binding commitment, we used to bind ourselves with many commitments, with reduction of emissions, can be very difficult for us in the sense that we will pay a lot, especially in Poland, if we will follow these binding commitments, but at the same moment we will change nothing. This group of countries, which is ready to do these commitments, is responsible for less than 15% of the emissions. That means if we reduce our emissions to half with extremely high price, will change nothing in the global sense. That means that we should find the new ways to involve new partners when we start to intervene worldwide. Traditionally, we used only state structures for that. Since Haiti, we've seen that, for example, in an area of humanitarian aid, the half of the aid was delivered by private donors. That means that such cooperation like with PASOS, such cooperation like with NGOs, became a natural part of the policy. And we should find a way, not just to coordinate governments, not just to get agreement with other governments what policies we will take, but rather to find a way to coordinate our actions with NGO sector, with a business, otherwise it will be not effective. Looking for some comments about the Polish presidency, for sure we see that there is a serious recognition that Poland was more or less reasonably prepared. That means that this car, we can say large truck, is going in more or less reasonable direction, and that we try to use the policies where we solve joint problems in solidarity. The last, what I would like to say, it's linked with my visit in Togo and Ghana. During this parliamentary assembly, it was again visible that expectations from Europe are very high. It was the next round of requests, you should pay for that. Somehow, to pay the bills, to show the solidarity, to support those countries and communities which are in need. We should, at the same moment, clean up our home. That means fix the way we operate to be more effective. Thank you very much.